What you think you know about angels is about to be turned upside down. Forget the images of creatures with harps and white wings. We're about to dive into a world where cherubs have 4 faces and fiery seraphim guard God's throne. This revelation isn't just surprising, it's practically unknown. And what if I told you that angels have more to do with celestial battles and divine protection than playing soothing tunes on clouds? Buckle up, because we're about to unveil secrets that will challenge everything you believed about the heavenly realm, promising to change your view of the spiritual world forever. Are you ready for the truth? Most people have a misconceived perception of celestial beings, at least according to the Bible. Today, we're going to focus on the celestial beings as described accurately in the scriptures. But first, let's explore how the vast majority of people mistakenly visualize these heavenly entities. Typically, when thinking of celestial beings, the image that comes to many minds is of angels depicted as humanoid figures with large feathered wings. Often, they're shown displaying halos and sometimes carrying harps or trumpets. These images are deeply rooted in cultural and religious traditions and have been reinforced through art, literature, and popular culture. Angels are generally portrayed as human-like beings, adorned with broad, feathered wings, radiant halos, and sometimes holding musical instruments like harps or trumpets. This portrayal has been heavily influenced by Renaissance art, literature, and later popular culture. Historically, art and literature have played a fundamental role in shaping our understanding and perception of these celestial entities. From the paintings of Raphael and Botticelli to the verses of John Milton's Paradise Lost, angels have been humanized, making them both accessible and, at the same time, supernatural. This anthropomorphism reflects humanity's desire to comprehend the divine and bridge the vast chasm between the mortal and the eternal. Moreover, movies, TV shows, and even Christmas imagery, especially in the West, have reinforced this representation, often reducing the deep spiritual significance of these beings into mere decorative ideas or fantastical characters. But celestial beings are not cute or gentle creatures who spend their days playing harps. They are beings of unimaginable power. They don't look like the angelic figures of Cupid or the cute cherub from Valentine's Day cards. These are true spiritual entities with real power, far beyond our understanding. The fact that these celestial beings can stand in the presence of the Lord and behold His face reveals their unimaginable strength. We, in our mortal bodies and with all our sins, cannot stand before the Lord and see His face. God's word tells us that no man has seen God and lived. Exodus 33:20. Yet, angels can stand before Him without being consumed by His holiness. Take, for instance, the angel Gabriel's introduction in the Gospel of Luke. In Luke 1:19, Gabriel says, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God. I have been sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news." Gabriel, an angel, stands in the very presence of the Lord Himself. If we were to behold the Lord's face in all His holiness and glory, our spirits would depart from our bodies faster than we could blink. Angels are powerful beings. In fact, a single angel killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night. 2 Kings 19:35. An angel shut the mouths of lions in the story of Daniel, Daniel 6:22. An angel rolled away the stone from Jesus' tomb to reveal the miraculous resurrection. Matthew 28:2. An angel guided Philip to meet the Ethiopian eunuch for a divine appointment. Acts 8:26-40. An angel freed Peter from Herod's prison. delivering him from certain death. Acts 12:7. These benevolent beings are sent by God as messengers, protectors, and guides for humanity. However, there's a special class of celestial beings that stands apart from traditional angels, cherubim. Under the broad umbrella of celestial entities, cherubim are unique in both their function and appearance. They are not ordinary angels, nor even archangels. They are distinct, a type of their own among heavenly beings. The Bible provides us with several detailed descriptions of cherubim, and they starkly contrast with the common perception of angels. One of the most vivid descriptions of cherubim comes in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 1:5-11, it says, "From the midst of the storm came 4 living creatures. They looked like humans, but each had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's hoof. They gleamed like burnished bronze." These are not the gentle, serene beings most people envision when they think of angels. Cherubim are complex and fearsome creatures with multiple faces, wings, and abilities that reveal just how different they are from the typical image of angels. They were created to carry out specific divine purposes, such as guarding the throne of God and serving in His presence. They are described as having the appearance of a lion, an ox, an eagle, and a man, each face representing a different aspect of God's creation and His attributes. Imagine the sheer awe and power these beings must convey. The cherubim don't just sit and play harps. They are warriors, protectors, and servants of the Almighty, working tirelessly to fulfill God's will. But what does this mean for us today? The Bible encourages us to rethink our understanding of the spiritual world. It challenges us to move beyond the simplified images of angels we've been taught and embrace the fuller, more awe-inspiring truth about these powerful spiritual beings. Angels and cherubim are not just fairy tale creatures. They are real beings who interact with the world and work to carry out God's will on earth. Their strength, beauty, and power serve as a reminder of the greatness of God and the spiritual forces at work in our lives, even when we can't see them. Reflecting on these descriptions, it becomes clear that the spiritual world is far more complex and powerful than we often realize. The way angels and celestial beings are portrayed in popular culture can dilute the immense significance of these entities. They are not just messengers or playful figures. They are mighty servants of God, engaging in spiritual warfare, protecting God's people, and carrying out His divine plan. Understanding the true nature of angels and cherubim should inspire a deeper respect for the spiritual realm and a renewed sense of awe towards the Creator. It reminds us that we are never alone and that there are spiritual forces at work around us, even if we cannot always perceive them. This expanded understanding can change the way we view our own lives and spiritual journeys. We are part of a much grander story, one that involves powerful beings working behind the scenes on our behalf, guiding and protecting us as we walk the path God has set before us. The mysterious cherubim, a glimpse into Ezekiel's vision. Beneath the splendor of the heavens lies one of the most intriguing and mysterious entities described in the Bible, the cherubim. These celestial beings, as detailed in the visions of the prophet Ezekiel, defy conventional imagery. Far removed from the gentle haloed figures often associated with angels, the cherubim are described as majestic and awe-inspiring beings, radiant with power and complexity. Let us delve deeper into Ezekiel's account and uncover the profound mystery of these divine creatures. In Ezekiel's vision, he describes the cherubim as having a form unlike anything earthly. Their legs were straight, resembling the legs of a calf, and they sparkled like the burnished glow of polished bronze. Beneath their 4 mighty wings were hands resembling those of humans. Their wings, arranged symmetrically, touched one another, creating a unified, harmonious motion. When these creatures moved, they did not turn or pivot. They simply advanced straight forward with an unwavering purpose. Even more extraordinary are their faces, which reveal the multifaceted nature of their being. Each cherub had 4 faces: the face of a man at the front, the face of a lion on the right side, the face of an ox on the left side, and the face of an eagle at the back. This combination of earthly and divine imagery is both breathtaking and perplexing. These are not mere symbols. They are an intricate representation of power, intelligence, strength, and majesty. Ezekiel confirms that these are the same creatures he saw in his earlier vision by the river Chebar, where he recognized them as cherubim, living beings that exist beneath the glory of the God of Israel. Ezekiel 10:20-22. Each cherub moved straight forward, their motion reflecting perfect obedience and purpose. These vivid descriptions of the cherubim challenge our preconceptions about heavenly beings. Unlike the serene angels often depicted in art, cherubim embody complexity, majesty, and a profound connection to God's glory. They are not merely messengers, but guardians of God's divine presence. Their multifaceted nature, a combination of human and animal forms, provokes us to reflect on their mysterious link to the created world. How is it that these celestial beings, which existed before creation itself, bear the likeness of creatures, man, lion, ox, and eagle, that would only later appear on earth? This connection stretches beyond human understanding, revealing a divine order and purpose far greater than we can comprehend. The Bible gives us a clue about this chronology. In the book of Job, we read that the sons of God, understood to be angelic beings, rejoiced as God created the earth. Job 38:6-7. This clearly shows that angels, including the cherubim, were present before the earth was formed. Their resemblance to earthly creatures, therefore, does not derive from them copying creation, but rather creation, reflecting the divine patterns already present in the heavenly realm. Isn't that an extraordinary thought? For those of us who take time to ponder these mysteries, it may forever change how we view lions, oxen, eagles, or even humanity itself. To realize that these earthly creatures may, in some way, mirror aspects of a celestial design is both humbling and awe-inspiring. When we consider the cherubim, we also realize their uniqueness within the celestial hierarchy. They are not like ordinary angels, who serve primarily as God's messengers to humanity. Cherubim hold a far more exalted role. Their presence is closely associated with the throne of God, where they serve as guardians of His glory and participants in celestial worship. Imagine standing before such a being, its 4 faces gazing in different directions, representing different dimensions of power and majesty. Its wings stretched out, strong and vast, creating a shield of divine presence. Its feet, gleaming like polished bronze, radiate strength and authority. From beneath those mighty wings, human hands emerge, a striking blend of the divine and the terrestrial. This is no ordinary creature. It is a fusion of heaven and earth, a testament to God's unparalleled creativity and power. How would you feel if you stood before such a being? The mix of emotions would be overwhelming. Fear would grip you, as you are struck by its majesty and otherworldly nature. Yet awe would follow, moving you to recognize the glory of its creator. In its presence, you would feel your smallness, but also a sense of reverence for the God who designed such wonders. Though cherubim are distinct from angels in their role and function, their description reminds us of the diversity within God's heavenly realm. Angels, in the broad sense, are often depicted as spiritual beings who serve as messengers or carry out God's commands on earth. However, cherubim are far more than messengers. They are guardians, stationed in the closest proximity to God Himself. Their role is not only to protect His glory, but to actively participate in the worship that surrounds His throne. This distinction is important because it helps us see the richness of the celestial hierarchy. Angels, archangels, seraphim, cherubim, all are part of God's heavenly court, each serving a unique purpose. While all reflect His glory, the cherubim stand out as one of the most enigmatic and majestic beings in the Bible. They remind us of the depth and wonder of God's creation, both seen and unseen. As we contemplate the cherubim described in Ezekiel, we are left with a sense of mystery and awe. These beings, so unlike anything on earth, challenge our understanding of the spiritual realm. Their appearance, powerful, multifaceted, and radiant, compels us to think deeply about the majesty of God and His heavenly kingdom. Though we may never fully grasp their nature, the cherubim serve as a vivid reminder of the greatness of the Creator. Let this vision inspire us. The cherubim, with their many faces and radiant wings, point us to the glory of God and the perfection of His plans. They remind us that even in the unknown, there is beauty, order, and divine purpose. What an extraordinary God we serve, one who creates such wonders in the heavens and on earth. In the Bible, messengers, protectors, and guides are often mentioned. Some angels, such as Michael and Gabriel, are specifically named and have distinct roles in particular biblical events. However, while cherubim can be considered a specific type of angel, not all angels are necessarily cherubim. Cherubim, as described in the scriptures, have unique characteristics and roles that set them apart from other angelic beings. In the spiritual realm, there are countless celestial beings whose full nature and purpose we cannot fully comprehend. Some of these beings, like the seraphim, are described as radiant, burning creatures that stand in the presence of God and shine with His holiness. Their burning radiance reflects the intensity of God's glory. Alongside them, there are archangels, powerful messengers of God, who deliver critical messages to humanity. In the book of Revelation, we encounter majestic horses in the sky, with one carrying a triumphant rider on a white horse. This rider represents victory and justice, an image of divine authority and triumph. Can you even begin to imagine how awe-inspiring that vision would be? These celestial beings are not only incredibly beautiful, but also endowed with unimaginable power and purpose. As we marvel at the beauty and power of these creatures, it's important to pause for a moment and reflect. While the Bible tells us about some celestial beings, there is so much we don't yet know about the spiritual realm. Have you ever wondered about the other celestial beings that the Bible doesn't mention? Can you fathom the awe-inspiring sights and experiences that await us in heaven? In Isaiah 6:1-7, we get a glimpse of divine majesty and holiness. The prophet Isaiah describes a vision in which seraphim, burning creatures with 6 wings, are continuously worshiping God, proclaiming His holiness and glory. These beings stand as living testaments to the glory of God, whose presence fills the entire earth. Isaiah's vision and his interaction with one of these seraphim, who purifies his lips with a burning coal, reveal profound truths about God's mercy, holiness, and the transformation that occurs when one encounters the sacred. The seraphim offer us a profound glimpse into the heavenly realm, revealing key aspects of God's nature and his interaction with humanity. The word seraphim itself is derived from the Hebrew term, meaning burning or blazing. This not only reflects their radiant appearance, but also symbolizes the passionate intensity of their worship. Their burning zeal for worship represents the uncontainable response of pure hearts to the unparalleled holiness and majesty of the Almighty. From the vast galaxies that stretch across the boundless cosmos to the intricate design of the human soul, the very fabric of creation emanates from the brilliance of our Creator. It is fitting, then, that every angel, every celestial being, every corner of the universe, every atom and molecule resounds with songs of worship to the one who spoke them into existence. God, in his unmatched majesty and glory, did not merely create the world. He breathed life, purpose, and wonder into it. Such a magnificent Creator demands our deepest reverence and unceasing worship. In the heavenly assembly, countless beings recognize this truth and respond accordingly. God is worthy of worship, and he deserves all honor and praise. Among this celestial throng, we find the seraphim standing out, not as mere spectators, but as active participants in this eternal symphony of praise. These luminous beings, with their burning essence, exemplify fervent and pure worship. Their very name, seraphim, denotes fiery passion, signaling the intensity of their devotion. It is as if they were forged from the very flames of worship, embodying a love so deep and pure that it can only be described as burning. If these magnificent creatures, who are so close to the throne of God, are consumed by the desire to worship him, how much more should we, the beneficiaries of his grace and love, be drawn to praise and honor our great Creator? In the presence of such inspiring devotion, may our hearts be ignited with the same burning passion to worship and exalt the Lord of all creation. In Isaiah's encounter with the seraphim, a striking feature stands out. These beings are described as having 6 wings. 2 wings cover their faces, not out of fear, but out of deep reverence and respect. In the presence of the Holy One, even the holiest of angels shield their faces, acknowledging the unparalleled glory of God. Another pair of wings is used to cover their feet, which, in biblical times, were considered the most contaminated part of the body. This act symbolizes the seraphim's reverence for God's holiness, even in their own purity. The seraphim's actions point to a truth that we must all embrace. Before God's holiness, we too must be humble, acknowledging our need for his grace. Their posture of worship, covering their faces, their feet, and their entire being in awe, reminds us that in the presence of the Almighty, there is only room for complete humility and surrender. Let us take a moment to reflect on the seraphim's unwavering devotion and the passion with which they worship God. If these heavenly beings, whose radiance and purity far exceed anything we can comprehend, recognize the infinite greatness of God, how much more should we, who are deeply loved by him, strive to worship him with all our hearts? As we seek to live lives that honor God, may we remember the example of the seraphim, whose fiery devotion to God continues to inspire us to worship with a passionate, burning love. Just as they are consumed by their love for the Creator, let us also be consumed by a burning desire to exalt him in every aspect of our lives. The seraphim are not just magnificent beings, they are models of worship for us. Let their devotion stir in us a deep desire to worship God with all that we are. And as we reflect on the glorious truths of the Bible, may our hearts, like the seraphim, be set ablaze with the fire of devotion and praise. The seraphim, in their divine role, are perpetually in contact with the ground, the very dust of the earth. This act of covering their feet can be understood as a symbolic gesture of deep humility. It conveys their earnest desire to present nothing impure or tainted before the Lord. In this gesture, they demonstrate that even in their exalted position, they acknowledge the need for purity in the presence of the Almighty. The remaining wings of the seraphim serve a functional purpose: flight. But flight, in their case, is not just about the ability to move. It signifies readiness. These celestial beings are always prepared, always waiting on God's command. They are poised, ready to respond at a moment's notice to His proclamations, His directions, or any divine declaration. Their constant flight around the throne of God speaks volumes about their unwavering vigilance and their unceasing service to Him. However, it's not just the physical form and purpose of the seraphim that capture our attention. It is also their vocal exclamation: "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory." This is not a casual or repetitive utterance. This proclamation goes far beyond a simple statement. It is a profound and resonant acknowledgement of a fundamental truth. The threefold repetition of the word holy is not merely a literary device. In Hebrew culture, repetition is used to emphasize the utmost significance of something. When the seraphim proclaim the holiness of God 3 times, they are magnifying God's supreme holiness, a holiness that is unmatched, unparalleled, and absolutely perfect. By repeating this word, they are elevating God's holiness to the highest degree possible in human understanding. Moreover, the impact of their proclamation is far from symbolic. As they declare God's glory, the very foundations of the temple shake. This reaction is not just a physical manifestation, it is a spiritual one. The shaking of the temple serves as a reminder that true worship, born out of a genuine acknowledgement of God's nature, has the power to move not only our hearts, but the very environment around us. The temple, which symbolizes the dwelling place of God, fills with smoke in response to their voices. This smoke, often used throughout Scripture, is a symbol of God's overwhelming presence. In biblical history, the presence of God was often accompanied by smoke, as seen with the Israelites at Mount Sinai. Here too, the smoke signifies God's active, dynamic interaction with His creation. The smoke, filling the temple, becomes a visible sign of God's glory, and it underscores the profound reality that He is present among His people. The continuous worship of the seraphim serves as the essence of their existence. Their entire being is oriented toward recognizing, revering, and proclaiming the majesty of God. In doing so, they reveal to us the heart of true worship. Worship, they show us, is not confined to rituals or specific routines. It is not about set times or places. It is, at its core, a genuine and passionate response to the Creator of all things. As we reflect on the role and attributes of the seraphim, we are invited to examine our own responses to God. The holiness of God, as demonstrated by the seraphim's unwavering commitment to worship and honor Him, challenges us to question: what can we, as humans, learn from these celestial beings? How can we deepen our relationship with our Creator? One of the fundamental lessons the seraphim teach us is the true nature of worship. Their worship is not a periodic activity. It's easy for us to confine worship to specific moments, certain places, or particular events in our lives. We often think of worship as something that happens only in church or on Sundays. However, the example set by the seraphim reminds us that worship is not just an act, it is an attitude of the heart. True worship is a continuous, ongoing acknowledgement of God's sovereignty in every single moment of our existence. Furthermore, the humility of the seraphim stands in stark contrast to many of our human tendencies. As beings of unimaginable splendor and nearness to God, the seraphim exemplify the ultimate humility. Despite their closeness to the divine, they recognize their place before God and humbly serve Him. This serves as a powerful reminder for us. True greatness does not come from seeking recognition or elevating our own status. Rather, it comes from recognizing our position before God and serving Him with a humble heart. The act of purification, performed by the seraphim, as seen in Isaiah's experience, offers another profound lesson. Just as the seraphim purified Isaiah's lips to prepare him for his prophetic calling, this act reflects the grace of God. It reminds us that God, in His holiness, does not discard us because of our imperfections. Instead, He purifies us, cleanses us, and prepares us to fulfill His divine purposes. Through this act of grace, God empowers us to carry out His will, just as He did with Isaiah. As we reflect on the seraphim's example, we are invited to reconsider how we approach worship, humility, and the purification process that God desires for each of us. Their continuous worship, unwavering service, and pure hearts stand as a timeless model for all believers. In all their splendor, the seraphim point us toward the heart of true worship, a constant, humble, and devoted response to the majesty of God. Ministry and God's mercy, purification and transformation. God, in His mercy, continually purifies and prepares us for the unique callings He has placed upon our lives. The seraphim, as celestial beings, become instruments of God's sanctifying power. Through their fiery appearance and ceaseless proclamation of holiness, they demonstrate that when God calls, He also equips and refines. This fiery image of the seraphim is more than just a physical description. It carries deep symbolic meaning for the faithful. In the Bible, fire often represents purification and transformation. Fire refines, burns away impurities, and leaves behind something pure and strong. For believers, this becomes an allegory of the transformative power of God's presence in our lives. As we draw closer to God, we embark on a process of sanctification, a journey during which the impurities in our lives are cleansed. This process shapes us increasingly into the likeness of Christ, refining us from within and aligning our character with His. A striking analogy we can draw is the seraphim's ceaseless proclamation of God's holiness. Holiness, by its very nature, stands apart from the common or ordinary. When something is described as holy, it implies a deep and intrinsic uniqueness, a distinction that elevates it above everything else. The seraphim, by crying out, "Holy, holy, holy," are not just acknowledging God's uniqueness, but are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates His entire being and all His actions, His transcendental holiness. The Bible speaks of many of God's attributes: His love, His mercy, His justice, and more. But none of these attributes can be fully understood or appreciated without first grasping the reality of God's holiness. His love is a holy love, not a fickle or changeable affection. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring that it is never arbitrary, but always right and pure. Every aspect of God's character, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This is the foundation upon which all other attributes rest. The seraphim, being in the immediate presence of God, understand this profound truth deeply. Their declaration of "Holy, holy, holy" is a stark reminder to us that our perception of God must always start with His holiness. It is His holiness that shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to Him. The Bible calls us, "Be holy, for I am holy." 1 Peter 1:16. This call is not simply a command for moral purity. It is a call to dedicate ourselves to God's purposes. We are to align our lives with His character, reflecting His image in a world that so desperately needs it. God's holiness serves as a beacon, illuminating the darkness of our world and the shadows within our own hearts. As we embrace His holiness, it reveals areas in our lives that do not align with His character. This revelation drives us toward repentance and transformation, leading us into a deeper relationship with Him. As we internalize the importance of God's holiness, it changes how we view sin. Sin is not just the breaking of a rule, it is an affront to the very nature of a holy God. Understanding God's holiness produces a profound sense of reverence and awe. It redefines our understanding of worship, making it less about ritual and more about a sincere response to a God whose essence is incomparable and unmatched. This shift leads us from passive observance to active worship, aligning our hearts and minds with the rhythms of heaven. To know God is to know His holiness. As we draw closer to Him through the Scriptures, prayer, worship, and daily living, may the cry of the seraphim echo in our souls, drawing us nearer to the heart of a holy God. This encounter with His holiness reshapes our lives, aligning them with His divine purpose and truth. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace. Just as the seraphim incessantly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms, we are tasked with spreading the good news of God's love and salvation here on earth. The unwavering focus of the seraphim on God underlines the importance of setting our sights on the eternal rather than the temporal. In a world full of distractions, the seraphim serve as an example of what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, get distracted, or lose sight of their purpose. Their constancy is a source of inspiration for us to remain steadfast in faith, unshakable in the face of the world's challenges. In summary, while the seraphim occupy a unique place in God's creation, they offer us a valuable perspective on His nature and how we should relate to Him. Their ceaseless worship, profound understanding of God's holiness, and unwavering focus serve as a model for us. May we be inspired by their example, so that our lives reflect this eternal truth and draw us ever closer to the divine heart. As we grow in our relationship with God, we undergo a continual process of sanctification. The impurities of our lives are purified, shaping us more and more into the likeness of Christ. Another striking analogy can be seen in the seraphim's declaration of God's holiness. Holiness is not just a characteristic, it is the essence of who God is. It is what sets Him apart from all others, and it is the foundation upon which all other attributes of His character rest. The holiness of God is the transformative force that shapes our lives, aligns us with His purposes, and calls us into a deeper relationship with Him. The holiness of God, a divine uniqueness. The concept of holiness carries with it a profound uniqueness, a distinction that elevates God above all else. When the seraphim, those exalted beings in the immediate presence of God, cry out with fervent declarations of "Holy, holy, holy," they are not merely acknowledging God's uniqueness. Rather, they are emphasizing a divine attribute that permeates everything God is and does: His transcendental holiness. Throughout the Bible, we are introduced to many of God's attributes: His love, mercy, justice, and righteousness, to name a few. Yet, None of these can be truly understood or appreciated unless we first grasp the significance of God's holiness. His love is a holy love, not a fleeting or changeable affection. It is perfect, eternal, and unshakable. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring that it is never arbitrary, but always right, pure, and righteous. Every aspect of God's character, every action He undertakes, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This holiness serves as the very foundation upon which all other divine attributes stand. The Seraphim, those celestial beings who stand closest to God, understand this truth profoundly. Their declaration of God's holiness serves as a stark reminder for us. Our perception of God must always begin with His holiness. This fundamental truth shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to His divine presence. In the Scriptures, we find a clear command: "Be holy, for I am holy." 1 Peter 1:16. This call to holiness is not merely a command for moral purity, but a divine invitation to set ourselves apart for God's purposes. It is an invitation to align our lives with His character, to reflect His image in the world, and to live with the reverence and awe due to a holy God. The holiness of God serves as a beacon, lighting up the darkness of our world and revealing the shadows within our own hearts. It exposes the areas in our lives that are inconsistent with His character, driving us toward repentance and transformation. When we embrace God's holiness, we begin to see ourselves more clearly, acknowledging the gap between our own imperfections and His divine perfection. Furthermore, when we internalize the significance of God's holiness, it profoundly influences how we view sin. Sin is not merely the breaking of a rule, it is an affront to the very nature of a holy God. Sin is an assault on the purity, righteousness, and holiness that God embodies. The more we grasp the weight of God's holiness, the more we understand how grievous sin is in His eyes. As the Seraphim demonstrate, understanding God's holiness produces a profound sense of awe and reverence. This reverence redefines our understanding of worship. It becomes less about routine and ritual, and more about a heartfelt response to a God whose essence is unparalleled and unmatched. Worship, in this light, is not just an act. It is a life-transforming encounter with the holiness of God. To truly know God is to know Him in His holiness. As we delve into the Scriptures, pray, engage in worship, and live out our day-to-day lives, may the cry of the Seraphim, "Holy, holy, holy," echo deeply within our souls. May it draw us closer to the heart of a holy God, reshaping our lives in the light of His profound holiness. The singular focus of the Seraphim on God underscores a profound lesson for us. We are to set our sights on the eternal, not the temporal. In a world filled with distractions and fleeting pleasures, the Seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular, undistracted focus on God. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace, just as the Seraphim ceaselessly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms. We, too, are tasked with the mission of spreading the good news of God's love and salvation on earth. The message of His holiness is not just for us to grasp, it is for us to share. The singular focus of the Seraphim on God underscores a profound lesson for us. We are to set our sights on the eternal, not the temporal. In a world filled with distractions and fleeting pleasures, the Seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular, undistracted focus on God. They do not waver. They do not lose sight of their purpose. Their unwavering devotion serves as a powerful inspiration for us as believers to remain steadfast in faith, unshakable in the face of life's challenges and distractions. Although the seraphim are celestial beings, far removed from our daily experience, their existence and role in the spiritual realm offer valuable lessons for us here and now. Their ceaseless worship and proclamation of God's holiness remind us that we should seek a deeper understanding and a closer relationship with the Almighty. They teach us the value of unwavering devotion, profound humility, and the vital role we play as messengers of God's sanctifying grace. Angels, messengers of God's divine plan. Speaking of angels, these fascinating creatures are a fundamental part of the spiritual realm, playing a significant role both in the Bible and in Christian faith. As we explore the universe of angels, we gain a deeper understanding of the divine plan for our lives and come to appreciate the divine beings who operate behind the scenes, protecting and guiding us in unseen ways. Yet, there is often confusion about angels, especially when ancient Jewish texts, such as the Book of Enoch, mix with the information found in the Bible. This can create some confusion regarding the roles and nature of these celestial beings. To clarify, let us focus on the angels that are specifically named in the Scriptures, those whose roles and purposes are clearly defined. These heavenly beings serve as agents of God's will, messengers who deliver His commands and provide protection for His people. In addition to this, the Bible also reveals how angels interact with God's plans in ways that are often beyond our comprehension. By studying the Bible and its portrayal of angels, we begin to understand how God's supernatural assistance operates on behalf of His creation. In conclusion, the angels, just like the seraphim, call us to focus on the eternal and to live with purpose, reflecting the holiness of God in our lives. Let their examples of worship, service, and steadfastness inspire us to remain faithful to our mission here on earth as we share the love and grace of God with the world. Enoch and the Bible, focusing specifically on the angels mentioned within the biblical canon, present fascinating insights into the spiritual realm. Among the most renowned angels, we find Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, figures whose stories and roles within the Bible continue to inspire and enlighten us today. Michael is widely known in both Jewish and Christian traditions as a mighty warrior and protector. Gabriel, often regarded as one of the archangels, is tasked with delivering divine messages to humans. Raphael, associated with healing, and Uriel, linked to wisdom and guidance, are also among the angels whose stories convey profound truths about the nature of God. However, it is important to note that in the biblical canon, only 4 angels are specifically named: Michael the archangel, Gabriel the messenger of God, Lucifer the fallen angel, and Abaddon, also known as Apollyon, the destroyer. These angels play significant roles within both the Old and New Testaments, teaching us about God's power, purpose, and plan. Gabriel and Michael are particularly highlighted due to their monumental roles in the spiritual realm. Gabriel, an imposing and glorious figure, appears prominently in both the Old and New Testaments. He is one of the most renowned angels in the Bible, a testament to his importance in God's divine plan. His presence serves as a reminder of God's power and majesty, communicated through heavenly messengers who carry out His will. Although the Bible never explicitly calls Gabriel an archangel, many Christian circles regard him as one due to his frequent, impactful appearances. Gabriel first appears in the Old Testament in the book of Daniel, where Daniel, a prophet in exile in Babylon, has a troubling vision. In Daniel 8, he sees a ram with 2 horns and a goat with a single horn, but struggles to understand the meaning of the vision. Seeking guidance, Daniel prays for an interpretation. In response to Daniel's prayer, Gabriel appears. He explains the vision, revealing that the ram with 2 horns represents the kings of Media and Persia, while the goat with a single horn represents the king of Greece. Gabriel goes on to describe the rise of the Greek king and the fall of the Persian Empire. This encounter with Gabriel demonstrates his pivotal role as God's messenger, charged with delivering crucial messages that shape the course of history. Gabriel's presence emphasizes the significance of God's revelations, particularly concerning the future of the Israelites. His interaction with Daniel underscores how God uses messengers to guide his people through difficult times and uncertain futures. Throughout the Bible, Gabriel is consistently associated with delivering divine messages. This establishes his vital role in God's communication with humanity. His significant appearance in Daniel 9 further highlights this function. In this instance, Gabriel brings understanding to Daniel's prayer, offering him insight into God's divine timeline and referencing the Anointed One, a term that foreshadows the coming of the Messiah. The Bible also presents Gabriel's role in the New Testament. In the Gospel of Luke, Gabriel visits Mary to announce that she has been chosen to bear the Son of God, Jesus Christ. This moment illustrates how God's activity in the world is ongoing, as he continues to intervene in human affairs through his messengers. Gabriel's visit to Mary reveals that God is not a distant figure, but one who is intimately involved in the lives of his people. History teaches us that we must remain open to God's messages, even when they challenge our understanding or expectations. Gabriel's appearances in Scripture remind us that God cares deeply for his people. His messages, whether delivered to Daniel, Zechariah, or Mary, are not only words of prophecy, but also signs of God's personal and loving involvement in the lives of individuals. In reflecting on Gabriel's role in the Bible, we are reminded of God's closeness to his creation. His messengers do not just bring information, they bring hope, guidance, and a glimpse into God's divine plan. Gabriel's visits show us that God is always near, offering us messages of hope and encouragement. As we reflect on these stories, let us be inspired by the example of openness and faith they encourage. Gabriel's ministry teaches us an important truth. God knows where we are in life and is constantly watching over us. Never forget that. This understanding brings comfort and assurance, especially when we face difficult or uncertain circumstances. Gabriel's presence in Scripture underscores this message, that we are not alone, and that God's plan is unfolding in our lives, even when we don't fully understand it. Another significant angel in the Bible is Michael, often described as one of the chief princes. This title suggests that there are other chief princes in the heavenly realm, although their names are not revealed in Scripture. What makes Michael particularly notable is that his name is mentioned repeatedly throughout the Bible, in both the Old and New Testaments. His role as a warrior and protector is highlighted in several key moments, where he is portrayed as fighting on behalf of God's people, defending them from spiritual forces of evil. In the book of Revelation, Michael is depicted leading the heavenly armies in a battle against the forces of darkness, a dramatic and powerful image that underscores his role as a protector of God's kingdom. Michael's constant presence throughout the Bible emphasizes his critical role in the spiritual warfare that continues in the heavenly realm. Michael, the warrior angel, and his role in spiritual battles. Michael, often referred to as the warrior angel, is a powerful figure in biblical texts. He led the battle against Satan and his rebellious angels in heaven and emerged victorious. Revelation 12:7 through 9 describes this pivotal moment. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But they were not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. This dramatic passage paints a picture of the spiritual war that rages between good and evil. Michael, standing as the leader of God's angels, fought relentlessly against Satan, casting him and his forces out of heaven. The battle was not just a physical one, but a cosmic struggle with eternal implications. Whenever Michael is mentioned in the Bible, he is often depicted as battling, confronting, or overcoming evil spirits and powerful principalities. He is portrayed as the protector of God's people, defending God's interests in the face of darkness. This role of divine warrior is especially highlighted in the book of Daniel. In the book of Daniel, we see Michael's involvement in some of the most significant spiritual conflicts. Michael, along with the archangel Gabriel, is mentioned by name in this book. However, it is in Daniel that both angels play a prominent role. Daniel 10:7-13 tells the story of a profound vision Daniel had. He was the only one who could see it, while those with him were overwhelmed by fear and could not bear to witness it. Left alone, Daniel saw an incredible vision, but was weakened by its intensity. In his distress, a hand touched him, lifting him up. The angel spoke to Daniel, saying, "Daniel, you who are highly esteemed, consider carefully the words I am about to speak to you, and stand up, for I have now been sent to you." Trembling, Daniel stood up. The angel continued, explaining that from the very first day Daniel set his heart to seek understanding and humbled himself before God, his prayers were heard. However, there was a spiritual delay. The prince of the Persian kingdom blocked the angel from reaching Daniel for 21 days. Only when Michael, one of the chief princes, came to assist, did the angel finally break through and deliver the message. This passage reveals some important insights about the spiritual realm. First, it shows that angels have different ranks and responsibilities. The Prince of Persia is a powerful spiritual being who seems to represent the nation of Persia. This indicates that spiritual forces have dominion over nations, and this aligns with the New Testament teaching that angels are organized in a hierarchical structure. There is an ongoing unseen battle between these spiritual beings that directly affects the physical world. Michael, in particular, has a unique role. He is closely connected to the nation of Israel and will play a crucial part in the end times, particularly during the Great Tribulation. Michael's role as protector of Israel emphasizes that he is more than just a warrior. He is a divine leader among the angels, guiding them in battle against the forces of evil. His responsibility to guard and protect Israel is both profound and significant in God's overarching plan for the world. Despite Michael's heroic stature and his vital role in the spiritual battle, it is crucial to remember that he is still a created being. Michael, like all angels, is a creation of God and should never be worshipped. He is a servant of God, fulfilling his purpose in God's divine plan. The Bible makes it clear that no matter how mighty or powerful an angel is, worship belongs to God alone. In Revelation 19:10, the Apostle John recounts an incident where he was so overwhelmed by the appearance of an angel that he fell at his feet to worship. The angel immediately corrected him, saying, "Do not do that. I am a fellow servant with you and with your brothers and sisters who hold to the testimony of Jesus. Worship God." This distinction is essential. Michael's role as a powerful angel does not elevate him to the level of deity. He is a servant, carrying out God's will and purpose. The Bible consistently teaches that angels, including Michael, are powerful spiritual beings who serve God, not beings to be revered or worshipped. In Psalm 91, verse 1-9, we are reminded of the divine protection that God provides to those who trust in Him. It says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." This passage highlights that while angels, like Michael, may be used by God to protect and assist us, it is God Himself who is our ultimate refuge. Michael's role in guarding and protecting God's people is part of the greater truth that God Himself watches over us. Sometimes, we may not even realize the full extent of God's intervention in our lives, but He is always at work, guarding us from harm and guiding us through life's challenges. Understanding Michael's role as a warrior angel, protector, and servant of God helps us appreciate the spiritual forces at work in our world. It reminds us of the ongoing battle between good and evil, a battle that affects our lives in ways we often cannot see. But through it all, God remains sovereign, and His divine intervention ensures that, in the end, good will triumph over evil. Let us not forget that angels are not to be worshipped, but rather, we should focus our worship and praise on the Creator, God Himself. He is our refuge, our fortress, and our protector. Divine protection and the power of faith. A reflection on God's safeguard. God's protection is something we often take for granted. Yet, throughout our lives, His faithfulness is our shield, a shield that guards us in ways we might not even understand. We don't need to fear the terror of the night or the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, or the plague that destroys at midday will not touch us. Though 1,000 may fall at our side and 10,000 at our right hand, we are promised that it will not come near us. With our eyes, we will witness the fate of the wicked, but it will not be our fate, for we have made the Lord our refuge. The Most High is our dwelling place. As believers, we know that God is always with us, protecting us, and guiding us through life's challenges. But sometimes, we don't even realize what God is doing for us. We may be walking through a difficult season, facing danger, or under pressure, yet we emerge unharmed, unaware of the divine intervention that was at play. The unseen protection of God. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't realize how close you were to danger? Perhaps you were driving, and suddenly you swerved to avoid a serious accident. But at that moment, you didn't know how close you had come to disaster. Or maybe you came home from work one day and felt unusually safe, not realizing that something harmful could have happened, but it didn't. That was God's protection. The Bible reminds us that God's angels are constantly at work, guarding and protecting us, even when we don't see it. Psalm 91:11-12 assures us, "For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." This promise is not just about a physical shield, but about a divine force that works tirelessly behind the scenes to keep us safe. Angels are real, and God has assigned them to protect us. The role of angels in our lives. We often forget about the angels that God has sent for our protection. The Bible speaks clearly about their role. Sometimes we don't realize that God has assigned these powerful beings to watch over us every moment of our lives. They are there when we travel, when we work, when we rest, and when we face challenges. No matter where we go, at least one angel is present, ensuring our safety. To this world, you may seem insignificant. Perhaps you're just another face in the crowd, another number, or another body. But to God, you matter. You matter so much that He has dispatched His angels to look after you, to guide you, and to protect you from harm. You are never alone. When we face trials, it can feel like we're all alone. But let this truth sink in. You are never alone. God is with you, and His angels are with you. This protection isn't just a theoretical promise. It is a living reality. Even when we don't realize it, God's protective presence is all around us, and He is working things out for our good. Angels play an essential role in our lives. Even as you read these words, it's possible that angels are present around you, guarding and comforting you. Psalm 91:12 reminds us that they will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Think of it this way. While the President of the United States has the Secret Service protecting him, you have secret angels guarding your every step. Isn't that a powerful thought? The story of Lot, a picture of divine protection. Let's look at the biblical story of Lot, found in Genesis 19. Lot was living in the wicked city of Sodom, a place where sin had reached its peak. It was a place doomed for destruction. Yet, in the midst of God's judgment, His mercy was extended to Lot and his family. One night, 2 angels visited Sodom and found Lot sitting at the city gate. Lot welcomed them with great respect, unknowingly hosting divine messengers. These angels had a mission: to rescue Lot and his family before the city was destroyed. The urgency of the situation is clear. Lot and his family needed to leave, and they needed to leave quickly. The angels guided them out of the city, providing protection and ensuring their safety. Just like Lot, we often don't realize the extent of God's protection in our lives. We might not see the angels, but we know that they are there, guiding us, leading us, and keeping us from harm. God's protection is ever present. In our everyday lives, we may not experience angels descending and ascending on a heavenly ladder like Jacob did, but the message is clear. We are under constant divine watch. Jesus in Matthew 18:10 reminds us that their angels are always in the presence of my Father in heaven. This verse reinforces the truth that we have special protection. Each of us has an angel assigned to us, guarding us from evil and keeping us safe. We face countless challenges and obstacles, but we often don't realize the depth of God's protection. In Isaiah 43 verse 2, we are assured, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze." Even in the most trying circumstances, God is right there with us, protecting us from harm. God's sovereign protection and divine guidance. God's protection isn't just a one-time act. It is an ongoing presence in our lives. Romans 8:28 reminds us that we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This is a comforting truth, especially during difficult times. You may be facing struggles, but remember, God is working things out for your good. When life feels overwhelming, we can take comfort in knowing that God is with us. He is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. In 1 Peter 5:7, we are encouraged to cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. God invites us to come to Him, to pour out our hearts, and to trust that He will take care of us. Lesson to reflect on this message reminds us of the importance of trusting in God's unseen protection. Just like Lot, we may not always see the angels or understand how God is working on our behalf, but we can be assured that He is there. We need to remember that God has a mission for each of us, and He is actively protecting us, guiding us, and ensuring that His will is done in our lives. As we go through life's challenges, let's remember, we are not alone. God's angels are watching over us, and His protection is a constant presence. So, no matter what you're facing, trust in God's care, seek refuge in Him, and know that His faithfulness will never fail you. Call to action. If you're struggling today, remember, you don't have to face it alone. Take a moment to seek God's presence. Open your heart to Him and trust that He is with you, guiding you and protecting you. Share your worries with Him, knowing that He cares deeply for you. I encourage you to pray, to lean into God's love, and to trust His divine protection. If you have felt distant from God, draw near to Him now. He is always ready to listen, to comfort, and to give you the strength you need. Whatever you're facing, you are not alone. God's angels are with you, and His protection is always at hand.
Do you love meaningful Bible stories? Top 7 Bible Stories channel will bring you inspiration and peace every day. Don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments section. Your sharing is the motivation for us to bring more stories. Top 7 Bible Stories. Good stories, beautiful meanings.